All right, welcome back. It's still Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA to set the tone for a conversation on consumer protection. Here is a background report put together by Ibrahim Dan Hamidu.
Consumer protection is a vital aspect of economic development, ensuring that consumers are treated fairly and have access to safe and quality products and services. In Nigeria, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission (FCCPC) is the primary agency responsible for promoting and enforcing consumer protection. Recently, the FCCPC summoned an Abuja-based Chinese supermarket over allegations of discrimination against Nigerian customers. The supermarket was accused of segregating customers based on their nationality, with Nigerian customers allegedly being subjected to stricter rules and regulations than their Chinese counterparts. This incident highlights the importance of consumer protection in Nigeria, where consumers are often vulnerable to exploitation and abuse. The FCCPC's swift action in summoning the supermarket demonstrates its commitment to protecting consumers' rights and promoting fair business practices. The FCCPC has been proactive in addressing consumer complaints and taking action against businesses that violate consumer rights. In 2022, the agency launched a consumer protection framework aimed at promoting consumer welfare and safeguarding their interests. However, despite these efforts, consumer protection in Nigeria still faces significant challenges. Many consumers are unaware of their rights, and businesses often flout regulations with impunity. To address these challenges, there is a need for increased public awareness and education, as well as stronger enforcement mechanisms to hold businesses accountable for their actions. Guests on Good Morning Nigeria will discuss consumer protection as a critical aspect of Nigeria's economic development and efforts to promote and enforce its laws.
Thanks, Ibrahim, for that background report there. And to begin the conversation, let me introduce in the studio is Adamu Abdullahi, is the Acting Executive Vice Chairman and CEO, Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. You are welcome to Good Morning Nigeria.
My pleasure being here. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you for coming. Also joining us in the studio is Kunle Kola Olubiyo, President, Nigeria Consumer Protection Network. You are welcome.
It's my pleasure. Thank you. Good morning, Nigerians.
All right, so also joining us for the conversation is Adesoji Lawal Esquire, a legal practitioner. Many thanks for joining us.
I'm glad to be here. Good morning, Nigerians.
Thank you. Also with us, but joining us via Zoom is David Akoji, Director, Special Duties and State Operations, NOA. Many thanks, David Akoji, for joining us.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right. Thank you. Now, let's begin our conversation with the CEO of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection, Adamu Abdullahi. Let's have an update on the Chinese shop that was sealed by your organization. Give us an update. What should we be aware of?
Okay, what happened was this. You know the story that went viral about this Chinese supermarket that operates and serves only Chinese people. We learned that there's also a restaurant in the premises that engages in the same practice. That is discriminatory, and not even talk of the FCCPA, that's our own act. Even by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you are not supposed to discriminate. To make matters worse, this is a foreign company, and it is discriminating against Nigerians in our own country. We didn't have a choice but to swing into action and go on a fact-finding mission. That's really what took us there. We didn't go seal up the place because we have to hear from the other side of the story and get a balanced story before we take any action. Unfortunately, they locked up the place and ran away. We couldn't find anybody there. We talked to the facility manager. He gave us the phone numbers of the owner of the place, a Chinese national, and all phone calls or text messages from us and even from the facilities manager were unanswered. The best we could do was to now paste a summons, since there was nobody to receive and sign for it. Paste a summons on the premises, took a photograph, and left. All we are looking forward to is for this company to come. The summons is for today at 11 a.m. So if they come today at 11 a.m., defend themselves, fine and good. But we did not seal the place. I see that you have got it right on your report, because what most media carried is that the place was sealed. No.
Okay, it was not sealed.
It was sealed.
But from the picture that we saw there,
we're just pasting.
Yeah, they were pasting. But we saw some of your officials in the supermarket there. That's film that was
That must be another supermarket. Because
okay, that must be another supermarket.
We're not in the supermarket. We found it locked, and it has been like that since we went there.
All right.
So all we are looking forward to is for them to come and defend themselves. If they don't, then today we'll go and seal it.
Okay.
Because
so it's
that's the
not
only
sealed
way
for
that they will come and report to us.
Okay.
All right, talking about sealing, I would like you to shed light on that, because I remember when you sealed the popular supermarkets sometime in January, there was a question of if the FCCPC has the right to seal premises. And then, while you try to explain that to us, could you also tell us the rights of Nigerians? You have said that, discriminating against, different nationals, for example, is against the right of Nigerians. What are the basic rights as a consumer? Just so that
let's take it from there now. This issue of the supermarket that we're discussing, they are engaging in false, misleading, and some practices that are not acceptable according to the Act. Nigerians have a right to know at what price something is for sale. You have to display your prices on your goods. If that display is not there already, you have infringed on the right of consumers. Nigerians have a right to choice. So if you have many products that are from different manufacturers, you have to declare who these products are from, so that Nigerians have the choice of trying to find out. So all these rights are the ones that we found out that were being trampled upon by this supermarket. You go to a shelf, pick an item. By the time you come to the till to pay, the price on the shelf is different from what is on the till, what you are charged. That is misleading. So we now, as in the instance of the first supermarket, we now looked at the operations and said, look, Mr. A, you run the stores, you receive products, you know at what price these products come in, you know what profit margin you add to it before you pass it to the store for sale. So, Mr. B, you are the one who pays all these prices as given by the store on these products. Mr. C, you are the one who is with the IT. So you impute all these prices on the system. And Mr. D, you are the one that's at the till. So you are the one who, when people come with these products, you punch them and give the prices. So the four of you come along with the manager of the store. Let's have a chat. They refused to come. We gave them another chance by doing a reminder. They sent in a lawyer. Lawyer, you have come on behalf of so and so supermarket, yes. You have come to defend them, yes. Have they briefed you on what is that they did? No. So what have you come to defend? So they just asked me to come. So we said, okay, in that case, it means that these people have not taken us seriously. We went there, and that practice was still ongoing even as of that morning. Because when they opened the store, went and picked kuli from a shelf. And the same brand of kuli made from the same manufacturer. By the time we went to the till, one was for 700 naira, one for 900 naira, another one for 1,100. The same product. So we said this practice is still ongoing, and we have asked you to come, you have refused to come. So the only way we can get you to come is by touching your market. That means we will have to seal this place, yes. Our act gives us the power to seal up a supermarket, any store, any warehouse, once we find out that they have indulged in any kind of practice that is unwholesome, which in this case we have confirmed. So we did what we did, and all we are trying to do, we are not trying to stop anybody from doing his business. We are trying to make amends. By the time they came to us, signed an undertaking that will do good behavior and work with us, which they have been doing for the past couple of months. We agreed that we are going to be in that store every week for 3 months to make sure that the right thing is being done. They have complied over 95% now with what we have found to be wrong. In case of the Suka supermarket, I wasn't even planned to be there because our operatives normally go on spot checks on supermarkets. They went to this supermarket and found out that they were selling stallion rice and cup rice. Stallion Group, everybody knows, wound up in 2018. How come their rice is in the market now? So it's either they're deceiving the public and selling something that's not stallion in the baggage of stallion, or they are carrying all those products from 2018, been hoarding them until now to sell. So come and explain to us what is happening. In the meantime, we cleared all the store and evacuated. Our Act gives us the power to evacuate products when we see fake products in the market, and that's what we did. Also, they had a whole shelf of coffee, imported coffee, that they have tampered with the expiry dates. Carried a marker and blocked it, so you can't even see the expiry, which means those products have expired. In the case of pharmaceuticals, we found out that yes, there are some medicine that you buy you can use for about 6 months. This large jugs, and the expiry date is just 2 months from now. So specific question, after I use this drug for 2 months and it expires, what do you expect to do with the balance? Throw it away? They said yes. So naturally we took them not to be a serious set of people. We evacuated all this product that we found in those supermarkets. At the same time, we sealed their warehouse. We did not seal the supermarket. We allowed them to continue doing their business. We have to encourage business, but at the same time, we have to encourage good business.
Talking about good business, does the FCCPA Act just rest with supermarkets alone?
No.
What other sectors of the economy do you cover?
All sectors of the economy. In fact, you saw us in Masaka Market. We go into the informal sector also. What we are trying to do in that sector is to find out how they are distorting the market. You see, every product now has an association. Association of yam sellers in the market, association of egg sellers, association of pure water sellers.
Cartel.
A cartel, so to speak. So they fix prices. And fixing prices is wrong. It's not in the law. You must not do that. It's a no-no. So we are not talking to those associations, telling them that, look, if you don't know, now you know. What you are doing is wrong. We are summoning them to our offices. We are discussing with them. We have been to Masaka. We have been to Gosa Market. And next week, we planned to go to Taraba and Benue. But we found out due to the security circumstances, or maybe it's a better idea not to carry ourselves there, because if you are going to Benue, for instance, you go by bus. I cannot feel the consequences of having a full load of FCPC staff being hijacked on the way. I don't know if they put.
So what happens to the rights of consumers in those states? Because from all you have mentioned, yes, this is just Abuja, around Abuja now.
We have a consultant that's now working on these issues, looking at all the markets individually and collectively, and find out what's happening. We are also, as of today, 10 o'clock, we have a meeting with the La COSPA, the Lagos State Consumer Protection Agency. They are coming, so we'll do an MOU and start working together. That means that Lagos end will be taken care of. We have a state office in Lagos already, state office in Kano. We are talking to Kano also, the Consumer Protection Authority there, the state level, so that we can go to the Dawanau market where they sell grains internationally, find out what are going there, break down all those cartels, so the price of goods will start coming down. It is already yielding results. Price of rice as of today has really come down. It's under 60,000 naira now. So these are from efforts made from all agencies. We cannot claim that this is only from us. We know that the government has done a lot, because the administration, despite the fact that it has removed subsidy, has also tried cushioning the effect of the subsidy. We have seen the efforts that have been made also about the dollar rate, and the fact that the dollar rate has now come down. So we now have the mouth and the will to go into supermarkets, to go into the markets themselves and talk about prices and look at gouging.
Okay.
Gouging is when you use happenings in the market that normally should not affect prices, to affect prices.
Okay.
We have experience from COVID, when the prices of hand sanitizers and masks in one day can rise 2-3 times.
Okay.
Meanwhile, what else has changed apart from demand? So we are just using the demand to get more. So we go into those supermarkets or whichever stores, we are still in court with HMEDEX on that issue. Go into the store, find out from their records on the day you bought those goods, what was the dollar exchange rate.
Okay.
Now that you are selling, what is the rate? Why are you selling at such high profit margin? So these are the things that we're working on.
All right. Thank you very much for giving us a lowdown of your activities there and how far you have gone. We'll still come back to you, but let's go to other guests. In particular, let's talk with Kunle Kola Olubiyo, who is the President, Nigeria Consumer Protection Agency. I want to find out... Network. Oh, okay, network. Sorry. So what are some of the common challenges that consumers face when trying to assess their rights?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, we need to commend the effort of FCPC under the leadership of Dr. Adamu Abdullahi. From our point of view, the aviation industry is really an area that needs to be looked into. Sometimes ago, I boarded the flight, return, I can't remember the name of the airline, and we could not even depart the airport until after 8 hours. That's why most Nigerians, if they are going for event outside Abuja or outside their area of comfort, they will need to go a day before. You book a flight for 10 a.m. in the morning and your flight will come by 8 p.m. And so FCPC is a multi-sectoral consumer protection agency. That is, its mandate cover all the sectors.
Okay.
And so when you raise an issue with FCPC through FCFC to National Civil Aviation Authority, they will stand in the top against FCPC that you are coming to our jurisdiction, that they are coming to. If a passenger book for a flight, sometimes you even book for, I know of some people that went to Lesser Ad last year through Ethiopian Air. Up till now, they've not gotten their luggage. Some of them will have their luggages, destroyed. And so FCPC need to be encouraged. Government need to increase the funding. Because like you are doing here, we know this 2 hours program costs a lot. So if, as said in local parlance, better money killing than money killing. FCPC is grossly underfunded. And so whatever the FCPC is doing now, achieving now, they are just doing it with their selfless effort. Government, if we want the best for the country as far as the ecosystem concerning consumer protection, government need to put more funding into FCPC.
What I want to find out is what are some of the challenges that consumers face when they want to assess their rights? Tell us some of these challenges.
The challenges we face, like I've said, is publicity costs a lot of money. If FCC have not come in here, I know a lot of people that we put on standby to watch this program. If FCC have not come in here, both on the radio, jingles, and infographic and what have you, publicity has a lot to do as per creation of consumer awareness. You can't take it. You can't take that away. If there are infractions, for example, like I bought an household Panasonic AC with deceptive offer, energy efficient and inverter. And so, to me, whenever I use the equipment in my house or in my office, as soon as the supply is out, the inverter will not be there. That's supposed to come like a power bank to reserve the power. And in my office, the highest consumption I get on electricity is the equipment that is labeled 75% energy efficient. That's what runs down my bill. So look at the LG, look at the Panasonic. Every product you see in the market that are labeled energy efficient, they are doing the opposite. And so the issue of enforcement require a lot of money. I'm not talking about our assessing that this, but if you are not even aware of the existence of an agency, how do you even take advantage when there is an infraction? So coming back to the fundamentals, federal government need to fund the commission more than it's doing now, because it costs a lot to do enforcement. It costs a lot to go for arbitration or file issue of litigation. Nobody's going to do it for you for free.
Okay, many thanks, Mr. Kunle. We'll definitely come back to you. But let's get to Ade Soji now. You know, listening to the CEO of the FCCPC speak, of course, setting up, you know, offices and all of that, business premises, consumers complaining, all of that would amount to nothing if there are no laws, you know, to protect the consumer and also protect the business owner, in whichever case. So could you speak to us about the laws, you know, that protects consumers in this country?
Okay. Thank you very much. The first thing is that going through the FCCPC Act, you know, one found a very exhaustive law, you know, very wide in its ramification in respect of protection of consumers, and so extensive in its scope as well, in respect of its powers. Mm-hmm. You know. But one finds that in respect of other aspects that protects consumers' welfare, found out that the problem is actually has to do with enforcement. For instance, let's talk about the FCCPC Act. You know, wide powers were given to this agency, but in respect of the consumers coming to enforce those laws, you know, which is not for their welfare, how has it been? It's almost nil. Why? It boils down to the fact that awareness is virtually not there. You know, but for instance, I always tell people, both you and I, everyone here, understood, we are all consumers. Even the producers, you know, I mean the manufacturers of goods, that the FCCPC, you know, are trying to protect consumers, you know, in favor of. They themselves are consumers in some regards, because there is no company that can survive, you know, solely on the product it is making. It's not possible. You have to rely on other products. So that's, in that sense, you yourself, you are a consumer. Yeah. Now, the fact now is that, you know, how does a consumer know that a right of mine has been infringed upon? A contractual breach has actually occurred against me. A misrepresentation has been done against my interest. How does you know? You know, many are not aware. Mr. Olubiyo was saying something earlier on. You know, in respect of the fact that so many consumers, you know, were not aware that this right exists. You know, now not knowing, you see, of course, ignorance of the law is not an excuse. You know, but the fact is, the fact that occurs means that there is a defeat of the act setting that up. You know, now he mentioned that the fact that there is need for funding, you know, of the FCCPC agency, you know, so as to execute its duties, you know, satisfactorily. But the problem is that going through the act itself, the FCCPC Act, you know, is a very fine piece of legislation. But the operational efficiency, I'm very sorry to say, the draftsmen that draft those acts did not put that into consideration. For instance, let's look at this. Ariara market in Aba, you know, is very much well known. That's true. Alaba market in Lagos is very much well known. You know, in Abuja here, there's Wuse market and Gariki market and all the rest. Understood. In Kano, it's time to be a commercial city. What's the presence of FCCPC in those places that I mentioned? You know, how many of the consumers go in there daily? In fact, let me say hourly, you know, knows of FCCPC. Whereas that's where the customer lies. You know, going to customers, going to the market, you know, supermarket, as he mentioned, you know, to seal off. You know, I'm very sorry to say this is elitist. Sounds elitist. Most Nigerians don't go to supermarket. For instance, in section 17H, you know, of the FCCPC Act, you know, wide powers are given to the agency. Understood. Sanction power, you know, sanction powers that it can sanction, you know, offending, what's it called? No, not consumers. Concerns. Yeah. Understood. It has. Understood. But I'm very sorry to say there is a banana peel in that. A banana peel in respect of the fact that, you know, there are aspects of the law, you know, that ought not to be touched. It's like dragging jurisdiction, you know, with the customer, the traditional cost that we know. Understood. So a consumer may have difficulty in enforcing his interest in respect of that. Basically, what they has to do, the FCCPC, what they actually do is that, you know, enforce a contract. You as a producer, I as a consumer, should know that each time I bring out money from my pocket, and pay for a good, understood? A contract has been established between the two of you, understood? Which, if breached, that is, maybe you sell a fake product for me, or I do not derive maximum satisfaction from the product you sell to me, means that you are liable to be punished. Now, who enforce it? You see, when you go to the regular courts, okay, let's say, how does a legal proceeding start in the regular court? A prospective litigant walks into the court, which is originating process, as it serve on the defendant that he has a grievances with, understood, and such proceedings, commences. But in respect of this, when you go through the acts, understood, you find out that the problem lies in the fact that the person that is supposed to initiate proceedings actually has to do with the agency itself. I don't know whether you get the distinction I'm trying to drive at. Understood? Now, the agency that is supposed to drive the to initiate proceedings is very, very much limited. As he has said, in respect of funding, in respect of personnel, Nigeria is a very wide country. We are talking about almost 1,000 kilometers.
So an individual cannot initiate.
No, I'm not saying it is.
It is true.
It is. But what I'm saying is that maybe by our cultural practices, many Nigerians, very sorry to say, use this word, are very passive in respect of enforcing rights. Understood? I think it has to do with our cultural practice. Understood? For instance, they will say, okay, I don't have time. It's a common balance among we Nigerians.
But nothing will come out of it.
Honestly. Or leave them for God. And then leave them for God. That all of us have been saying. I'm very sorry to say, contribute so much into the present situation that we have found ourselves. Where law doesn't work in Nigeria. God himself knows, that Nigerians, that human beings are going to offend themselves. They are going to be infringements. They are going to be infractions. And that's why he recommended law. In Christianity, we have the Justinian Code, which is said to be, which is divine. The Muslims have their Sharia law and other jurisprudence, understood? All claim that this is divine from the God Almighty, understood? If God doesn't know that, if God knows that it's in existence, as we used to say, why are those laws in existence? Also, so those are the orientations we need to change, understood? And while as he was talking, my mind was going to the fact that the best agency, that I would like, to form a synergy with FCCPC is National Orientation Agency. Why is the fact that, these are the people that are supposed to be, linked directly with the ordinary Nigerians, creating awareness. Publicity costs a lot, truly, understood. But one thing is that what's the essence of the law when it is being observed in the breach, more than in fulfillment, So the FCCPC Act is a very fine piece of legislation.
Has there been any notable case of consumer right violation in this country?
Very good. There hasn't been any notable. I can say no. There are, let me say, there has been some haphazard case laws in respect of that. One prospective traveler, supposed to be a traveler, what's it called? Maybe local or international flight, understood? That, the contract he had with the airline operator was breached in respect that, this flight could not go on, or it's luggage lost, or amount of money or whatever, understood? Those have been, we have seen instances of that, understood? But that's why I said, it has been very elitist. The people that are supposed to be protected, that needs actual protection, they are there in the grassroots, which the rich of the SCCPC, I'm very sorry to say, has largely not been extended to.
Very true. You mentioned the NOA. We have David Akoji joining us. By the way, besides Nigerians saying, leave it for God, they expect God to also judge them and punish them, because they will say something like, God will judge them and God punish them.
God punish them.
All right, so let's get to David Akoji now. You followed the conversation so far in the studio, and Adesoji just nailed it by saying that the NOA is the right organization to partner with the FCCPC to ensure that consumers are aware of their rights. Producers, or if you like manufacturers, or if you like business owners, also know where they shouldn't cross and all of that, just so that we can have a healthy society and have the rights of consumers protected. Speak to us about what the NOA is doing in this regard.
Well, the point that has been made by Adosoji is spot on. The NOA is already in conversation with Federal Competition Consumer Protection Commission for partnership. There are two arms actually to the functions of the FCCPC. One of those arms is advocacy, which is the desensitization and the creation of awareness. And then the other arm is enforcement, in which also you will find prosecution inside of that. The task before the FCCPC is quite onerous, just like the one before the NOA. They have overarching responsibilities, and their influence is supposed to span the entire length and breadth of the country, and they're supposed to protect companies as well as consumers, exactly the way their name says. It's implicit in the way the organization has been named, Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. Competition indeed means that there has to be fair practices amongst producers of goods and services, in terms of how they compete among each other. They should not be competing to run each other out of business, And then you have the component that has to do with consumer protection. Around this country today, after the removal of subsidy, there's been a lot of conversations around price control. People agitating to say that even when the exchange rate, naira to the dollar, is now plummeting, is going down, that prices of goods have refused to go down after they went up when the exchange rate was increasing. So Nigerians across the country have been agitating for price control, but it's not price control that is required. What is required is efficient and consistent and widespread implementation of the mandate of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection. And I would join also in giving credit to Dr. Adamu Abdullahi. In recent years, that government organization has been evolving into, a very, very effective institution and very important institution in our economic life. They didn't used to be a commission before now, but they've evolved into a commission with greater powers, and responsibility. And I know that they are also trying to expand. For the advocacy leg, I agree with Adesoji, I think that's his name, the earlier speaker, that there's need for collaboration between the National Orientation Agency and the FCCPC. And we have already gone very far in our conversations with FCCPC on how to establish that collaboration so that the advocacy component becomes more robust and countrywide. Hello, can you hear me?
Go ahead, please.
Okay. So we're working with them on that. And what is going on right now is extremely important to the policies and programs that government is deploying right now, especially in the economic sector. Having removed subsidy, government is working assiduously to ensure that some of our refineries come back to stream. If that happens, you will find that what is happening with Dangote and the dropping price of diesel, will also begin to happen in the PMS sector. I know federal government is in the process of deploying, CNG, compressed natural gas filling stations, and converting some of the commercial vehicles in selected states across the country. It will evolve eventually to all other states, so as to tackle these challenges that we have seen since the removal of subsidy. Now, the exchange rate, like I said earlier, is also going down. So why is it that prices of goods and services are not going down also? In the production sector, we are seeing reduction in the price of diesel. And we know that the cost of energy, is a serious impact factor on how goods are priced because of our power sector challenges. Most companies are using generators and diesel, for production. So if, because of the interventions that Dangote refinery is doing, the cost of diesel is going down, why are we not seeing that reflect in the prices of goods and services in the market? These are questions that Nigerians are asking, and they ask us because we're in the communities, we are everywhere. So it underscores the importance of the work that FCCPC is doing. They are deserving of the support of every Nigerian. We're supposed to rally around FCCPC at this particular point in time, and I congratulate NTA for hosting this conversation. Conversation is quite timely. It also adds to the advocacy and knowledge creation. And then on the part of Nigerians, we must seek knowledge, and this knowledge is available today at the click of a button because of the pervasiveness of the internet. We must seek to know what our rights are and which institutions are responsible for protecting and enforcing those rights. And then we pursue. Now, from the legal point of view, if somebody, for instance, goes to buy something in a supermarket and he feels shortchanged, and these issues, he needs to go for litigation. Is he going to be going to the same court that armed robbers are taken to and taking the same length of time? Perhaps maybe it's a tin of pig milk, for instance, just an example now, that is sold for him at a price higher than it ought to be sold, and that it is known to be sold. And he feels aggrieved and is seeking redress. What manner of court will he go to? So our judiciary should also look into this. As FCCPC is doing its job, if we have speedy conclusion of complaints, even those complaints that end up in litigation, if there's speedy conclusion, on them, then people will be encouraged, to also challenge some of these infringements on their rights as established in the relevant laws, being protected by agencies like the FCCPC. I also commend the association, the Nigerian Consumers Association. Their work should complement the work that FCCPC is doing. So we cannot, as a people, leave this responsibility entirely to FCCPC alone. Every Nigerian has a role to play. The role begins from if you are treated badly and you are sure of it and you have the evidence and details, you report this to FCCPC. And there are other organizations also that are responsible for protecting consumers. Regulatory organizations like the NCC, Nigerian Communications Commission, like the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission. But you need to know those components as a consumer of their products and services. You need to know those components of the laws that protect you and what your obligations are, before you are able to enjoy this protection. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, David, for your contribution there. We'll still come back to you because we still want you to educate us more on how consumers can go about to demand for their rights, how you are creating that awareness with consumers. But let's come back to Adamu here, the CEO of FCCPC. Now, there are so many interventions by government now to bring down, prices of foodstuff and commodities in the market, and also some of the services that we enjoy, like electricity now. For instance, we have these band A, band B, band C, band D. But many of the consumers are complaining, even band A, you understand, you promise 20 to 24 hours of electricity. But majority of us don't actually have. For instance, I'm in band A, and I have less than, not more than maybe 16 hours, let's say, at least. And I'm supposed to have nothing less than 20 hours in a day. You understand? The same thing goes with other commodities like that. Now, prices, the Naira has appreciated in the market, but the prices of goods are still the same. How are you handling this?
Let me first of all start by commending both over here and Mr. Akoji for clearing the picture. What we do is go into MOUs with sector regulators and with partners such as consumer advocacy groups, as we have here, as well as any other group that comes to us and is ready to work with us. You see, we ourselves, the commission is barely 3 years old. As a commission, that's one. Secondly, we have just over 300 members of staff. That's a drop in the ocean for 230 plus million Nigerians. And Nigeria is far and wide, we all know, plus all the challenges of the road networks, of air travel, and all the others. So we realize all that. And that is why we are going into MOUs with all these organizations. In fact, our law specifically asks us to go into MOUs with sector regulators. Sector regulators are recognized because the way consumer complaint is structured, if you buy a product from any seller and you have an issue with that product, your first port of call, whether it's a product or a service, first port of call is the person that sold that product to you. To go and complain that this product you have sold to me or this service you have sold to me is not working. If he does not address the issue, then next port of call will be the sector regulator. In aviation, for instance, you have an issue with your ticket or your flight is delayed. There is a consumer protection, full-fledged consumer protection department in NCA, now a directorate really. That was my last assignment before coming to FCPC. I was Director of Consumer Protection in NCA. So what that directorate does is receives complaints on behalf of consumers of air travel and tries to resolve them. When you are satisfied with what NCA and the service provider is doing, you are free to now come to FCPC. But then the law also gives you the right to report directly to FCPC. But also in recognizing the slowness of our court system, we have a tribunal. There's an FCCPT, that's the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Tribunal, that now whatever judgment we make in our decision, whatever decision we reach, you can now challenge it. Either industry or the complainant himself is not satisfied with our decision. That is to make things faster. So this issue of advocacy is something that, as pointed out, is something that concerns all Nigerians. And what we are trying to do with NOA, they have 774 offices in all the local governments in Nigeria. So all we need is a small desk, a laptop, even a copper, an NOSC member, train them on how to receive complaints. Right. We have an enlarged portal now, a complaint portal in the FCPC. That one is automated to the point that, come again?
For listeners, your web or portal?
The portal.
And the website.
The website. I say you can do it, you can complain to it through our portal or through the website itself. There is a window for lodging complaints. Once you do that, it's automated so that it goes straight to whoever the complaint, whatever sector that complaint is in relation to. So we now relate all those complaints from all the local governments and the states too. And then also, there is a government issue to this. You see, we don't expand the way we want to. We have to go through the government process. There is a head of civil service of the Federation. We are still part of the civil service. So we go through head of service before we get vacancies and employ. Last year, we got only 100 vacancies which were filled, and that has helped a lot. And that's what even raised us to 300 plus. This year, we're in the process of still trying to get some more vacancies where we can now, because the government has approved that we should open offices in all the states of the Federation as well as the FCT. Very good. And once that happens, and this relationship we have with the NOA works out, then of course we have that coverage. So it's just a matter of time. And it takes time for organizations to grow and become more effective. Because if you rush it, you get in trouble.
Because what you have just said now shows that your response time is a bit slow when the consumers report cases of their right being infringed.
No, not really. Is it because we ask the sector regulator
because you go through
comment?
All these bottlenecks?
Sector regulators we have deadlines.
Okay.
So if you lodge a complaint with us and we think we should hear either from sector regulator or from the service provider himself, just a matter of giving them the time to come to us, we'll do a summons. Come to us and explain yourself. If it means bringing the two parties together, we'll do that and try to resolve the complaint. If it doesn't work out, that is when our tribunal now comes in. But normally it does work out because most times all it needs is a handshake and a sorry. That's it, and people understand. Or change the product or refund the money. That's it. And most times it works. And it works very fast.
But how do you handle cases of government agencies when they do not live up to their promises?
We have the power and we use it. It's not as if because we are a government agency or because we are government to government, we will not do our job. We go ahead and do our job.
All right, talking about doing your job, you know, a lot of views have emanated from your recent move, you know, trying to bring down prices. You know, there are opinions in some quarters that organizations, or if you like businesses, have the right to peg prices based on how they think that they can be able to stay afloat. Give an example. Say an organization that has a big facility and has probably graduates and who are well paid, you know, who work there, and then they have a lot of facilities. So you don't expect them to peg prices the way another facility who is not, that's not as you know, I mean. So, and then again, some have also argued that, for example, the Chinese company that you know, wants just Chinese people to patronize. Some have said that it may not be discriminatory in the sense that they may feel that their products are basically for Chinese people, all right, and maybe Nigerians, you know, some have said, you know, what has been in the public domain, that before January they admitted everyone. But maybe because of practices, or if you like, behaviors, or the kind of products that they stock and all of that. I want you to speak to that. Don't the producers, or if you like, the manufacturers or the company owners, have the right to decide what they want to charge?
That's the competition aspect of our work. You see, beyond consumer protection, we also are in charge of competition in this country. We are the apex body. So competition has to do with mergers and acquisitions. When companies merge or acquire each other, we have to make sure that they don't distort the market, so that they don't abuse their dominant position. Issue of dominant position here is when you are the major producer of a good or a service, supplier of a service in the country. You don't abuse that position to fix prices arbitrarily. That's the essence of your question. So issue of fixing prices now, or how the market should play, is an economic thing, very scientific, and as I told you earlier, at least during COVID we got that experience. We'll sit down with a supplier or a producer of a product and look at the books, find out at what price you got all your raw materials, at what price you got power, and all the other variables that went into this production. So basically, at what price that good, a piece of that item comes to you. Your profit margin now, what is your company decision on profit margins? How much do you charge? So if your product is supposed to cost, with all things taken into consideration, 100 naira, for instance, and then all of a sudden you are selling for 200. And we find out that you are dominant in the market, there are no other producers, or you block new entrants into the market, so you are abusing your position. It means that something is terribly wrong. So in these instances, we now have to come into that market and ensure that the prices are lowered and you do the right thing. It is a very Herculean task, and it is a very complex calculation. We don't have the core competence most times. We have to bring in consultants. Talking of funding, we are fully funded. We are fully self-funded. We generate our own revenue, take care of our own salaries, take care of our own operations.
How do you generate revenue?
First of all, through mergers and acquisitions, merger fees. That's one of the major ones. Promos. Whenever anybody does a promo, you come to us and pay before you can do a promo. But then, more especially, through sanctioning errant bodies. One of the big ones we had recently is $110 million against the tobacco company. $110 million which have been fully paid. Of course, government took its 40%. That left us with good money to take care of ourselves for some period of time. We have ongoing investigations, data privacy abuses that has been ongoing all over the world. You have seen that against WhatsApp, against Facebook. We have such kind of investigation right now going on that may come into, again, some sanctions. Issue of misleading advertising against a bottling company, that's also under investigation. There are many of them that lead into or lead to having us force sanctions onto these producers and providers of services. So that is our major source of revenue, and that has been taking care of us. And we are not complaining of resources, so to speak. It's just the capacity that we have to build, and the fact that we have to bring in others and work together with them, and so people can take ownership of this consumer protection issue and help us fight the war. Come to us, complain to us. We don't have the monopoly of knowledge. Give us advice on how you think we should do things. That's the essence of this collaboration that we have with them. Lawyers, we always encourage. In fact, we have a lot of lawyers. We have a lot of litigation that we do. So naturally, we are always in contact with them. We always in touch with them. We always talk to them. We go to our National Assembly most times. There are lots of ideas down there. Because yesterday when I went to National Assembly to defend increases in cement prices, the kind of idea that I got from the floor of that house, as well as from the members of the committee themselves, is something that will help me in my work. So these are issues that there is really a lot to be done, but it's not just for the FCCPC, it's for all of us.
Okay.
We thank you again, the same way that Koji was doing, for giving us this opportunity to talk to Nigerians and tell them that this project belongs to all of them. It's not for us only.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, the CEO there, for your contribution. Now, I want to come to you, Lawal, as a legal practitioner, but you will answer this when we come back from the break. I want us to look at the legal framework and the policies. Do we have, do we have enough policies, or the legal framework is there to protect, consumers' rights in this country, or do we need to strengthen the legal framework that we have presently? But you will answer that when we come back from the break. Stay with us.
Fellow Nigerians, it is a good thing to be Nigerian. Good news! The Office of the First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria is organizing the National Fabric Competition, the hashtag One Nigeria Unity Fabric Competition. The aim is to create a fabric design that would be indigenous to Nigeria, showcasing our culture and unity. This competition is looking out for creativity, concept, and the message of unity. Open to Nigerian youths, both male and female, between the ages of 15 and 25 years. And guess what? You can apply wherever you are in the world, as long as you are Nigerian. The winner of this competition goes home with a cash prize of 25 million naira. Are you sure I will not apply for this competition? Submission of entries close on Sunday, 30th of June 2024. Submit your entries by sending pictures of your designs via email to unityfabric.ofl24@statehouse.gov.ng, making sure you capture all parts of your designs. Together, let us unite Nigeria!
We are live in the open market for Epic 10X Challenge.
My people, today now.
Today, I will show you how the power of new Epic 10X gives your toilet a better cleaning than bleach.
Than bleach?
Yes, so.
Impossible.
Toilets have stains which bleach cannot clean effectively. But Epic is thicker and sticks better,
Which gives 10x better cleaning versus bleach and kills germs.
Oh, wow. You can now see that Epic is better than bleach.
I don't know what your dream is. To live your dream requires unwavering passion. But if your passion burns true, you will defy the skeptics.
And captivate countless souls.
It's 1,000% yes.
The world will never be the same.
That is how you do it.
Because you dared to dream.
This is Nigerian Idol.
Catch the premiere of Nigerian Idol Season 9, starting 21st of April, 7 p.m. West African time. Nigerian Idol, exclusive to DSTV and GoTV.
Nigerian Idol is proudly sponsored by Techno, Stop at Nothing, and Biggie, For Every Moment.
Nigeria means unity.
Nigeria means freedom to me.
Nigeria means greatness to me.
to Nigeria is indivisible. There is nothing you can do. We all have to salvage it together and learn to love each other. We are indivisible.
As a mother and a leader, I will always preach for peace and unity in this country, because that is the only thing that will give us progress.
Though tribes and tongues may differ, in brotherhood we stand. And it is the woman that does that.
This Sunday, Napoli.
Way back in by Kvaratskhelia, and Victor Osimhen has restored.
Roma. Napoli versus Roma. Live on Sporty TV.
SportyBet sponsors coverage of the Italian Serie A.
Yeah, welcome back here. We are still on to Good Morning Nigeria, and we are talking about the right of the consumers. Before we went on break, we were on the Soji, and he was to tell us about the policy. Do we have enough policy in place or legal framework to actually protect the consumers? If not, there is need for us to strengthen the legal framework in this instance?
Thank you very much. Let me say traditionally, every one of us, even laymen, not only lawyers, there is this case called the eggshell case. The eggshell case, the eggshell case originated from England. I think that was 19th century England. Understood. So in respect of something that has to do with things like you are talking about now, consumer protection. So those have been the fulcrum, the fundamental, of consumer protection, if I can say, although it's strictly in the laws of contract. But as I've said earlier on, consumer protection is like a subset of the law of contract. Understood. So that's what they are doing. Now, as I said earlier, the FCCPC Act, is a very wholesome act, really extensive. It's not because the executive chairman is here, I'm trying to flatter him, or it's not. I've gone through it. It's very, very fine. But the problem lies in the fact that, for instance, let me give you an instance. The commission itself, as it said, apart from being a commission, going through the spirit of the law that created that, you find that it's like a court on its own. Now, by Section 49 of the Act, it creates the tribunal. Understood? So, and the tribunal is FCPCT Act. What's it called? Under the commission itself as well. So, the commission is a court. It has power to issue summons, warrants, even subpoena, to prospective offenders or anyone that feels that has offended. And then, if the such party feel aggrieved by the decision of the commission, it can appeal to the tribunal. Understood. Now, who are the members of the tribunal?
FCCPC.
No.
Very good.
No. That's two separate bodies.
I'm coming. Section 49 that created it says that the chairman of the tribunal, has to be a lawyer with 10 years cognate experience. Understood. Other members may come from finance and administration, may come from engineering, advocacy, IT. Understood. And they are going to sit on appeal, in respect of a legal procedure. Understood. I mentioned earlier on that something is like banana peel. Understood. The consumer you are trying to protect. Understood. In respect of that, the other party is watching. If we allow you to waste your time, I'm sorry to use that word. Understood. Go through the commission, then go through the what's it called, the tribunal, and then I think by Section 51, it said any aggrieved person from the tribunal can also appeal to the Court of Appeal, and then we go to Court of Appeal. Whether a person that is a non-lawyer, can write judgment against me and impose sanctions. Understood? And they have very wide powers of sanction. Understood? For instance, I think one of their infringements attract up to 50 million naira. Understood? Or 5 years imprisonment. I think I'm right. Understood? You can imagine such wide powers. Understood? One of them says, when once found guilty, you are going to pay, I think 10 million naira. 3 years. In fact, if it's a corporate organization, understood, the 10% of the turnover of the previous year, that's going to be your penalty. Imagine a very big conglomerate asking it to cough out 10% of it. What's it called? Understood? That's fine. It's meant to protect the consumer. Understood? But do not expect that they will not fight back. Now, when they fight back, and the matter goes to the appellate court, understood, and the decision is rubbished, in the long run, the consumer you are trying to protect, is exposed, understood, and more or less the person that what's it called, the adversary, which are trying to protect him against, psychologically, become stronger, and to do the infringement, the infraction is committed earlier on, understood. You see, I restricted myself to the FCCPC Act in respect of the question that you asked about the policy and whether there are others, because I find it sufficient. Or, let me say, it ought to be sufficient. Why I say so is that, look at, let's look at the police. The Nigerian police has commands, 36 state commands, understood? Why I draw the attention, why I draw the example of the police as an example, and as an example is the fact that, it is the only organization or agency that I can say, comparable to the FCCPC Act. You might be surprised, but they are the only one, the only one agency, that, that the operation, touches on all 200 million Nigerians. Understood? As I said earlier on, the 200 million, what's it called? Every Nigerian is a consumer. Understood? That's ipso facto, their jurisdiction as well, it's such extensive. Now look at. Let's now contrast that with an agency like INEC. As an INEC, does not have power over me or anything to do with me. Understood? If I'm not 18 years, because I cannot vote. Even if I'm 18 or more than that, understood? And I'm not a registered voter, I decide not to vote. Of course, it's an infringement of my civic responsibility. But INEC cannot do anything in respect of me. Understood? Likewise, others. But in respect of this, you must consume something. Even a child in ovulation, the jurisdiction extended to him because it extended feet that will be taken out of some others, whatever was taken, whatever was purchased by the mother towards a survivor. Exactly, it's within their jurisdiction. But the powers given, understood, is like, I'm very sorry, it's like illusory. It's very, very illusory. The fact that if it's exploited, for instance, there are a plethora of authorities, that have talked about their sanctioning powers, understood. And it's very, very wide. For instance, in Garwe against the University of Maiduguri, the Supreme Court has said it. That, as a regulatory authority, your power is circumscribed in respect of inflicting punishment or awarding sanctions. Understood? There are so many authorities in respect of that. But here we have an organization that has very, very wide powers in its desire to protect the, what's it called? To protect consumers. So those things need to be looked into. He was talking of we need to, that they need to move with caution. That's what they did not do in that legislation. I would like, whenever an amendment is going to be undertaken, that should be, it should be considered. So in respect of the question you have asked, understood, traditionally the law of contract majorly protects consumers, but that is so wide. But talking of a specific legislation, the FCCPC Act, I've gone through it severally, is the best that have protected Nigerian consumer the most.
All right. So talking about protecting the consumer, I'd like to get to you, Kunle Olubio. In the past, the consumer was regarded to as king, treated right. I remember some years ago, before COVID, you walk into a bank, for example, you're offered seats, sometimes you're offered a drink, there's sweets and all of that. There was care. There was concern for the consumer. But all of that, within a short period of time, we've lost that. In fact, there's some restaurants you go to in the past, they assisted the elderly. They assisted those who, who had one disability or the other. But all of that, it's very difficult to find these days. Where did we get it wrong? What exactly is the problem?
Well, thank you very much. Like he has said, looking at the definition of true federalism, because in Nigeria, we sit in Abuja, we make laws that has wider influence over subnational. We should not forget the fact that this is a federation. We have in place federation units that are subnational, and to some extent, they have their own jurisdiction. Now, if you pass, like the Child Rights Act that was passed by National Assembly, each state has to domesticate that act. Like the Electricity Act, now Ekiti and Enugu State Regulatory Commission NEC has devolved the power 2 days ago to Enugu State to have their state regulatory commission. That is the essence of true federalism. So in the same manner, the commission before now was Consumer Protection Commission.
Council.
Yeah, Council, CPC. And I recall that we had issue of monopoly and cartel, antitrust. And when it comes to issue of a big player in the cement industry dictating the price, you have the largest cement company, maybe the foremost cement company, will now fix the price. That is antitrust. So, but coming down to the basic, like you have said, each of the states, what we expect the FCPC to communicate to the states House of Assembly, like we have in Lagos, they are doing robustly well, so that each of the states will now domesticate the contest, the spirit and letter of the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. Because even if you put the entire budget, federal budget, which may even come through the envelope system, they will approve XY amount of money, they will release 20%. If you put the whole budget of SCPC into publicity, I know what I'm talking about. This program, if we are to go commercial, it will cost us nothing less than 10 million in a day. And so you can imagine the number of 10 million you pay for all the major TV channels. It will consume the entire budget of SCPC. Publicity alone. Even though that they have to use wisdom, you assist them to using goodwill and what have you. The publicity budget alone will consume the budget of SCPC. So moving forward, what I expect us to do is the FCPC to train staff from the state, like NEC is doing with some of the states, training them on how to establish their own state regulatory commission. I want to come into the electricity sector, where I'm a sector leader and very active. For example, in 2013, the issue of competition was not in place as in Competition Act when the power sector was privatized. Because if you look at what we have in the definition of distribution licensee or franchise, some genuine investors in some states will want to call me and invest. I recall we have Geometric Aba Power Company in Aba. We have some investors that want to call me into places like Kosubosu. They want to compete with the discos. But because by the time the licenses were issued, there was no Competition Act, okay, that will look at the issue of competition and antitrust. Now, in the market, we want to patronize utility companies. The consumers does not have the right to choice. We have what they call the service level agreement, which is still, like you said, part of law or contract. You know, for every contract, there must be an offer, consideration, and acceptance for a contract to be valid. Now, the service level agreement, part of this SLA, entails that the discos will provide us meter. Because if you go to the grocery, you go to petrol station, it's not our business to provide the meter. But now, it's the customers that is providing the meter. It's the customer that is providing all the infrastructure in the electricity sector. This service level agreement is being breached. Talk about the performance contract. So these are the areas where consumer FCPC has a lot of work to do. And that's why I talk about the issue of funding, which is very important. Funding for manpower and advocacy for FCPC. I still want to come to that. And we now need to devolve the responsibility of the consumer protection. The commission cannot be here and be covering Maiduguri and be covering Lagos, where the subnational with their own legislation, as defined by true federalism, could be established, could be trained to have the same mindset with the FCPC, so that instead of opening all the offices in 774 local government, it's a lot of resources, so that when you have the state, if the state have gotten the right kind of orientation, we'll not talk about issue of synergy. And some of us who are non-state actors, some of the things we do them out of passion for consumer rights protection and advocacy. So that all this synergy, by the time it comes together, the issue of protection of consumer rights is like issue of safety. It's everybody's business.
Okay.
Yes.
It's everybody's business.
Yes.
Thank you, Kule, for your contribution there. Now, let's go to David now. Okay, okay. We don't have David for now. Well, okay, maybe when we get back to David, when we're able to connect David, we'll get back to him. So let's come back to you, Adamu. You know, we're talking about the issue of, you know, you being able to handle some of the government agencies that have that have infringed on the rights of the consumers, and there's one particular one that you mentioned. Can you just give us an elaborate explanation on that?
AEDC. Okay, what happened was, you know, there was this infringement after the band ABCD issue came up.
Yeah.
Found out against the Abuja disco, based on which the NERC, Electricity Regulatory Commission, came up with a sanction of 200 million naira against AEDC, as well as an instruction to refund some monies to some customers that they mistakenly put in the wrong band. So, as of yesterday, we were discussing in the office, trying to find out a rumor we have heard that the disco has not really paid that sanction, and the consumers that who were expected to get refunds have not been refunded. So this is something that you said would get to the bottom of it, find out if there's any truth in this rumor, and if we do, we'll pass it on to our tribunal, and the tribunal is free to now investigate this issue and do something about it to ensure that this sanction as meted out by NERC is done. In addition, let me touch on what the learned lawyer has spoken about. You see, documents are live things. He knows that. So some things you have to put into practice before you understand the shortcomings. This is a new law, barely 3 years old. Because yes, it was passed in 2018 December, but the fact that there was COVID, 2 years of COVID in between, and the fact that the commissioners, the executive vice commissioner, the chairman of the board of the FCCPC did not come on stream until March 3 years ago, means that this document has been put into practice for a small period of time. Meanwhile, there is a lot to be done in building a new agency. In office accommodation itself, we had to move from our initial place in Wuse to Maitama and now in Masokoro. Issue of the number of staff, which we have talked about earlier, issue of infrastructure that we need. And it's an ongoing process. We sometimes you even have to burn your fingers before you find out you're making a mistake. And then you go back and do the right thing. Legislation is something that's live. So we are right now advocating for some amendments to the Act already.
All right.
And this is something that we're already discussing with our committees of the National Assembly for both the tribunal and for us. The tribunal and us are really independent bodies. In as much as possible, we run away from the activities, and we don't want to be even seen to be together because of the fact that they sit over our decisions. Since they do that, of course, we have to be seen to be doing our own thing, and they having their oversight.
For neutrality.
All right. Okay. Let's go back. Let's go to. I think we've been able to connect with David now.
But just quickly, before we, connect, before you ask David his question, I'd like Adamu to just make some clarification. Because initially you talked about funding not being a challenge, and I know that Mr. Kunle has been talking about funding as being a challenge. I want to put some clarity to that, because you said you raise your funds yourself, you take care of yourselves, like you pay your staff, you do your operations yourself and all of that. What does the commission need to upscale its activities? Is it that you're...
Really, the issues we faced with the beginning of the year were really service-wide. At the end of the year, government in its wisdom blocked all accounts of all agencies, all MDAs, opened new accounts with zero balance. Meanwhile, the old accounts had post-note debit on them. You couldn't have access. We had a lot of money in that account, but we couldn't have access to them. We have been talking to government, and we have just gotten approval now to get 50% of those funds that were earlier blocked. So now we can go ahead and start doing activities once again. That was the only hiccup that we got. Otherwise, we are comfortable with our funds.
So you can increase number of staff on your own? You can.
We can't. We have to go to head of service for that. They give us the establishment.
And if you increase staff, you think you can pay? You can.
We can pay because we have the funding to pay. In fact, we made projections for additional staff for this year. And the same thing with the same man we did last year. Manpower. We did.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So, okay, let's join David now. David, I know that you are also been part of this conversation, and the issue of social and cultural influences affecting the awareness of consumers. There is need, it has been agreed here, for the consumers to begin to change, their orientation when it comes to fighting for their rights, and not leaving it to the gods and saying that God will judge, God will fight for me and all that. Especially this, you will find this especially at the community level, the local levels, where people are not well educated and they don't know how to go about, fighting for their rights. In what ways, is the NOA, educating or, creating awareness amongst the people, especially at the local level now, to create awareness concerning how they will go about their right?
You see, by the time we perfect the current conversations we are having with FCCPC with regards to establishing a formal partnership, we will upscale what we're doing currently. At the rural level, we have relationships with traditional rulers, religious leaders, youth groups, women groups, socio-cultural organizations that are community-based, and then civil society organizations at that level also. And these are platforms that we use, to convey messages so as to effect behavioral change in various communities across the country. And you know that culture and social nuances differ from community to community. So in communicating, one needs also to be sensitive to this cultural and social nuances so that the messages are not taken in negative light. So this is the way we do our work at National Orientation Agency. We expect that this would become more robust in terms of deployment of personnel, NOA personnel. The issue that the acting EVC raised concerning establishing points of contact for FCCPC in various states and communities, this is an area that the NOA can assist, while they are working towards establishing state offices and presence in various locations across the country. We can have a stopgap arrangement where we designate desk officers in our offices across the country. And then if FCCPC will provide laptops, as the EVC said, and these laptops are connected to their central complaints coordinating platforms, then we would find that a lot more Nigerians will be served, in this process. Now, talking about awareness creation, I did mention that even the consumer has a responsibility to want to know. And as of today, in addition perhaps to the sensitization and advocacy that NOA will be doing with FCCPC, many of these consumers have Android phones. Can you hear me?
Please.
So many of these consumers that we're talking about have Android phones that are connected to the internet. At present, they spend a lot of time online, but they spend that time doing things that do not add value, So can consumers across the country please use their phones and access to the internet and Google to check out what the new Electricity Act says in terms of the rights and privileges of consumers, for instance? Can they search the internet and find out go to the website of National Electricity Regulatory Commission and find out what the new Electricity Act states, concerning what the customer is entitled. This will also create some platform for self-knowledge building. The same can be done if you want to know about the mandate, and the provisions of the act that relate to protection of customers with regards to the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. However, we will partner with FCCPC robustly and deploy their messages across country. I think I should not stop until also I have said something concerning the references that was made to pricing of products. I don't think that issue was adequately addressed. If we allow producers to price their products the way they feel, there's far more implication even beyond the issue of purchasing discomfort to the consumers. There's the challenge of illicit fund flow and money laundering. So if there isn't some sort of regulation around pricing of products and services, it can become a veritable means for people to bring in illicit funds and then launder them into our economy. What do I mean? For instance, and this also has impact on competition. If, for instance, I'm bringing in vehicles, Toyota vehicles, for instance, and it is determined that all costs considered, such Toyota vehicles should sell at 2,000 naira, for example. Do you understand? And then somebody brings in and is selling for 1,500. It means that all those who have complied with processes and everything and are looking for a profit will be run out of business.
Very good, David Akoji. Thank you so much. You have made a valid point there with that comment of yours, David Akoji. But because of time, we'd have to stop you. I'm sure we'd have further conversations on this particular matter as the CCPC, continues to do its mandate. Of course, I'm sure there will be reasons to have you. Just so we wrap up the conversation, we would like you to just say your final words to Nigerians as we conclude the program.
Final word is that the consumers have seen so far what the FCP has been doing, and over the past couple of weeks, you have seen how effective we have been.
So you intend to do more?
Feel free to notify us of anything you find out in the marketplace that you want us to come into, and we give you assurances we'll do our very best.
All right, thank you so much. So we do appreciate you, Adamu Abdullahi, Acting Executive Vice Chairman and CEO for the Competition and Consumer Protection Commission, for coming on the program. Your website is just FCCPC. That's your website, right?
.gov.ng, yes.
Okay, thank you. Kunle Kola Olubio, President, Nigeria Consumer Protection Network. Many thanks for being a part of the program. Adesoji Lawal, Esquire. Many thanks for joining us for the conversation. And of course, we appreciate David Akoji, Director of Special Duties and State Operations, NOA. We'll have to leave the conversation at this point. Many thanks for watching. I'm Yenre John.
Well, I'm Ademola Adio. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.